morning, everybody, and welcome to the 32nd episode of Voice of Silence. And today we have with us this wonderful person who we all know as Shailja. A little introduction for those of you who may not know her. The first thing is that she is an excellent photographer. We have seen a lot of her photography. I have actually even been one of her muses once. And a little bit about her photography from my side as an artist is that she elevates her photography to a level of brilliant artistry, where she will bring out the nuances of a human being in such a beautiful way while staying grounded to the soil like a farmer. That's the amount of hard work that she puts in her photography. So that is number one. Number two is her writing that we are all aware of Katha Chitram that she's been writing. And another observation there as a reader. It is so simple. मुझे कभी-कभी लगता है कुछ लेखकों का होता है ना that it is so simple. मुझे लगता है ये मैंने लिखा है. And that is the power of simplicity of Shailja, because she exudes brilliance in simplicity. And over and above that, she's one of the kindest and most gentle souls that I've ever met. On that note, can we please give a big round of applause to our 32nd speaker? Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for being here, Shailja.
Thank you so much, Kanika, and that was such an elaborated and a beautiful description which I may not deserve, but thank you so much. Thanks a lot.
Totally deserved. So let's begin then. Shailja, what we would like to know and what the audience would like to know, what I typically do is it's important for everybody to understand what we are doing here, and that cannot be done without a story behind. So can you please tell the audience about your childhood, where you were born, what was your family structure like?
Okay, sure. So before I answer that question of mine, allow me to say something. So, the other day when Kanika called me up and she said that she wants to feature me in the Voice of Silence, I was actually quite surprised, and I told her that, Kanika, I'm a very ordinary person, which I truly believe that I haven't achieved anything so great in my life so far that, I'm worthy of sitting on this chair and being interviewed by you and in this beautiful series that you have started. And I have actually miles to go, so I have lived a very simple life, and I'm a very ordinary person with no big achievements to actually boast and gloat about. And as you must have seen in my stories too, it's always about the simple things. I don't write profound or deep philosophies. It's very, very simple things. And that's where this lovely lady said something, and that has stayed with me. And she said that, Shailja, it's not always that you need to have great things to share. Sometimes, simplicity, some very big lessons of life or something meaningful or memorable comes out of from the womb of simple things or ordinary things. So let's see how this conversation goes today.
Thank you. And I truly believe that. We did have that conversation, and I was like, it doesn't always have to be like a massive, like a dramatic story. We invite those as well, but what we are trying to do here is to understand people's voice is silence. I'm very serious about that. So without much further ado,
it's your question.
Shailja, please tell us about your childhood, where you were born, your family, your siblings.
So I, as it's very relevant in my stories too, I always bring an element of nature. So it goes without saying, I'm born and brought up in Himachal, and since my dad was in government services, so I've seen the entire Himachal and traveled the entire India. So Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam is actually, it's true in my case. So I had we are three sisters. I'm the youngest, and both my sisters again married to in army families, married to army officers. And my parents were very simple people, and that time we were not exposed to all the big things of life or the gadgets as these days kids are exposed to. We had very simple things of life, but what kept us together was probably the lack of those things, which kept us all together, and we started valuing things. And since I was a very shy person, I would speak less and observe more. So I think that was the time when, right from my childhood, I started understanding human emotions or people or their psychology. I may not have been very, or I was not able to express that in words, but certainly, I mean, that was a point in my life.
Is that how the writing began?
Well, there was another reason for that. So I was a shy kid, alright, a little quiet, which I still am. Many people tell me, तुम लिखती तो बहुत हो, लेकिन publicly बोलती बहुत कम हो. So maybe I'm a very quiet and a private person. I take time to open up, and so was the case when I was a child. So I realized, and I started writing to express myself, and that was the time I realized that my spoken words didn't have that much of weight as my written words were. So I took up to writing. I started writing simple poems or articles or stories. I started sending it to, without telling my parents, I started sending it to the Tribune, that time, वो newspaper आता था हिमाचल में. And the day I'll see my stories or articles being published in that, as a school kid, that was a moment to celebrate,
It's a very big achievement.
Yes.
It is, and it must have given you a boost.
Absolutely.
To continue to write.
Yes.
So that was the seed, huh?
That was
the
the
seed.
seed.
Okay. Shailja, you mentioned that you lost your mother at a very tender age of 16. Can you make us understand the emotions of a 16-year-old at that time? And I understand that your sisters were married and you were alone with your father. What was your emotional journey at that point? Whatever you can remember from that time. How did you feel and how did you deal?
Okay. So, this was a long time back when I was 16 and a half, and one of my sister was married and the other one was doing her internship.
Studying, yeah,
PGI.
I'm sorry, yeah.
And when we got to know that she has this terminal cancer, and she was on a borrowed time of 3 months. So that was a shocker, and I couldn't believe, as a kid, I couldn't process that thing. I thought, ये चीज़ें तो सिर्फ फिल्मों में होती हैं, real life में it doesn't happen. How can this thing happen to us? And am I going to lose my mother? I was in a denial, total denial, but when I started seeing her inching towards death day by day, shrinking from a 5 feet 6 inches tall woman, shrinking every day, and reducing to something totally different. That was the time it started seeping in, and I very vividly remember the day she died. From that moment to the wo raat nikal kar next day, I suddenly saw a 16 years old girl suddenly transformed into a woman. I didn't see the beach ka phase, I didn't experience at all, because suddenly overnight so many responsibilities come on your shoulder. You have to take care of the house, the food, the emotional well-being of your father, because it was his biggest loss. He had lost his spouse, so it was, and so suddenly so many responsibilities, and from a free-spirited child, suddenly you become very quiet and a woman. Suddenly you become a woman. So
I cannot even imagine, to be honest. I wouldn't know. But I mean, I'm 42 right now, and I still see so many gaps in my own psychology or in my own mental growth, where I've not grown for whatever reasons, or have grown too fast in some others. So I don't even know how that would have felt or how did you deal. But thank you for sharing that. It's a very private thing. But that's something that I would like all of you to remember going ahead, because the story that's going to come in, it's very important to understand it in a very holistic point of view when we are talking to speakers, that where is a person coming from. And I feel that one of the reasons that I sit down and talk to people and understand their journey is so that the judgment which somehow is not leaving our society, come what may, starts to recede a little bit, at least amongst women. At least, for starters, we could be a little less judgmental about each other. So the next thing that I would like to know is, first, please tell us the incident where you asked your father to get remarried.
Okay, yes. So I was doing my post-graduation. I was 21 years old. So during the break, I came home, and my dad very nicely, he sits with his big mustaches and a handsome man. He says, मैंने तुम्हारा मैट्रिमोनियल का ऐड दे दिया है न्यूज़पेपर में. And it came as a shocker to me. I said, what? I'm just a kid of 21 years old. I don't want to get married. And you know how Indian parents are, emotional blackmailing. मैं हार्ट पेशेंट हूँ, you never know, कब क्या हो जाए, so you have to get married. And he also used the sentence, तुम्हारी तो माँ भी नहीं है, तो मैं अकेला क्या करूँगा. So all that emotional blackmailing took place, and I looked at him, and from the depth of my heart actually felt, and I told him, I said, I'm ready to give in, I'm ready to get married, unless you get married first. He was quite shocked, and he looked at me. He says, "What are you talking? Have you lost your mind? How can I get married?" So I questioned back to him. Though I was, we grew up in an environment where, unlike आजकल के बच्चे, we have very friendly relationships. We had that respect and a fear sort of a relationship with our parents. So I never questioned back my father, but that day I did. I looked into his eyes and I said, what are you fearing? Are you fearing society? What's your fear like? Why are you saying no to it? He said, why should I fear society? I said, no, I think that's the thing in your head. Tell me, when you are unwell going forward, will society come and hold your hand? When you are sitting in a murky or a glum winter evening in your house, sitting all alone in that big house, will somebody come and give you company? How about those nights when you are actually yearning for some companion? Will somebody come and give you company? If the answer is no, then it's not worth it. So please go ahead and get married. I'll find a nice person for you. So my father got really angry, and he just blew his top off, and he says, I don't want to talk to you. He walked away, and for 2.5 days we had no communication. He would come on the dining table, eat his food, but he will not talk to me. Then finally, when I decided after almost on the third day, I said, let me go and talk to him again. I hugged him. I said, I'm so sorry if I have hurt you, but this is actually, and genuinely, I want you to get married. So he said something very beautiful again. He said, I'll say in Hindi, he said, जिस औरत के साथ मैंने अपनी ज़िंदगी के इतने खूबसूरत साल गुजारे हैं, मैं वो जगह किसी और को कैसे दे सकता हूँ? And I don't know how Kanika, that 21 years old girl, with not इतनी कोई बड़ा नहीं होता है, suddenly a very mature thought came to my mind, and I told him, I said, it's not about giving her space to somebody else. Because our parents or spouses, siblings, everyone has a certain place in our life. We cannot replace those. They're irreplaceable. However, there's always room to create some space for somebody else. Why don't we do that without disrespecting the person who has gone? Live with her beautiful memories, but you need to get married. And he says, nahi, ye to nahi ho paega, and don't force me for that. And he had tears in his eyes. That was the time I knew that, okay, let's not push him. Although I didn't give up. It was very funny. Even after my marriage, I told my mother-in-law that, this is what I want. She also became a party to it. She said, let's find a suitable person for it.
Sweet.
Unfortunately, we couldn't find somebody, and it never happened. But
I think it's the thought and the intent that matters.
But Kanika, I would really want to say at this point of time, please support those people who have lost their spouses. If they are happy, if they think that they are sufficient and they are happy, they can live the life alone happily. It's perfectly fine, because I'm not saying कि सिर्फ आपको आपके लाइफ पार्टनर और आपका बेटर हाफ ही पूर्ण करता है. आप खुद में पूर्ण हो. लेकिन अगर कोई ऐसा है जिसे ज़रूरत है, don't judge that person, please. We are living in a very judgmental society. Don't judge that person. On the contrary, help that person.
Yeah.
So that's the point I want to say.
All right. Shailja, moving on to your marriage and whatever you want to talk about. Ashish, your husband, how did you meet? Was it an arranged marriage, love marriage? And then your journey after that till you had both your boys.
Okay. So as it's evident, the famous matrimonial act that my father had given, and
उसमें लिखा क्या था? एक सुंदर सुशील लड़की के लिए मुझे चाहिए ऐसा सुंदर सुशील लड़का चाहिए.
he wrote,
पर सुशील लड़का नहीं चाहिए होता ना मोस्टली.
हाँ, सुशील
लड़का तो चलता है, सुशील लड़की चाहिए होती है सबको. लड़का तो कैन बी व्हाटएवर ना.
So he had written all fake ad. He had written tall, slim, okay, तब थी, fair, girl with very sharp features. I said, Papa, where are the sharp features? I've inherited this pakoda nose from you. Where's the sharp features? and
ये
very
कौन सा पकौड़ा
innocently-
मुझे है?
and very
ये sharp
So,
features.
but you know, he said very innocently, he said, ऐसा करना पड़ता है, you know, yeah, that's my stereotype. He said, ये करना पड़ता है. So I said, okay, maybe if that will fetch me a nice boy, and it sure did. So yeah, I got married to Ashish, my husband, and I think Kanika, अतिशयोक्ति नहीं होगी अगर मैं ये कहूँगी. It won't be an exaggeration if I say that today whatever I am, whatever little confidence I have or I've achieved anything, of course a lot of credit goes to my parents who have given me these wings, you know. But I give tremendous contribution or credit to my husband. He always pushed me, he always supported me in whatever I wanted to do. I wanted to teach in a language institute in Indonesia. When we were posted there, he always supported me. When we came back to India, I wanted to work in a corporate, he supported me. Then one fine day I decided to quit my career and follow my passion, photography and writing. He was standing there for me, you know. So if I'll say that my parents gave me a wing and he is the wind beneath my wings, it won't be an exaggeration. So he is a very fine gentleman who always supports me.
That's amazing.
And I have 2 boys. Again, lovely children. All mothers love their children. I won't say they are perfect kids, but fine. You know, their imperfection makes it perfect. And one of the boys is working with the IT industry, and the other one is an officer. He's a captain in Indian Army. So, yeah, that's about my family. I love you.
So moving on.
Yes.
So you came back to India, and you came back after 10 years being in Indonesia. And now this is where we need to understand that a person who was at 16, she lost a parent. Then she got married and moved to a very different country and stayed there for a decade. Had 2 kids there, understood the language there. Sorry,
Actually, kids were born in India, but we moved when my younger one was barely five months old.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they grew up there.
They grew up there.
Okay. I'm sorry. Sorry for
That's
that.
fine.
So the kids grew up there, and then she comes back to India and comes back to Gurgaon. Okay. So we'll fast forward to an incident that happened recently, which is in 2019. Okay. Shailja, whatever you're comfortable with, please tell us. And then, of course, I have a lot of my own viewpoints on that. But please, whatever you want to be, whatever you feel you want to share.
Sure. And I think it's important
Yes.
to talk about that.
Yes.
Right? Help other people.
Yes.
In 2019 didn't start on a good note for me because, as I said, that I lost my mom very early. So for me, my dad was everything for me. You know, my friend, my parent, whatever you may call it. But unfortunately, I lost him on 2nd of January 2019. And that was the year of lots of ups and downs. So there was a low, suddenly there was a high. My son got through to CDS and he joined the intermilitary academy. And we were very happy. But I think that happiness was very short-lived. Something very unpleasant happened with me, which I think shouldn't happen with anyone. So in the month of March, without realizing anything what was happening with me, I started getting phone calls, from a lot of guys. One phone call, second, third, in a day 5-6 phone calls, even at night or odd hours. And first I thought, and they would just say, hi, how are you, and all that, in a very not so pleasant, little flirtatious tone. I was quite taken aback. I thought it is some wrong number, maybe something has happened and it's probably some wrong connection. So for 1 or 2 days I kept saying, no, it's a wrong number. Then something struck me that no, something is wrong somewhere. And even 2 at night or 1:30 in the night, the phone will ring up. And then I realized that I would say, no, but I was never talking to you. Who are you? They would say, no, you were just now chatting with us. I was totally taken aback. Obviously, the first reaction is reaction of fear, Maybe I'll just disconnect the phone or not take it. But then when it became quite frequent and I started asking them, why, who are you? Where was I talking to you? I'm sitting with my family watching a movie, or I'm doing my work, I'm on a photography assignment. I'm not talking to you, my laptop or phone is not even in my hands. How can you say that? So they said, no, ma'am, you were talking to us, just now you were talking to us. So I told my husband, I told my boys that this is what is happening. And so पहला reaction होता है तुम मत phone उठाना, let me handle it. But then how long can they do that? So I said, okay, now I need to handle it. So first reaction was obviously of a lot of fear, of shame, and I just wanted to hide somewhere. कि मैंने ऐसा क्या किया that I'm getting these calls. What have I done? Have I gone wrong somewhere? You start questioning yourself. That self-doubt comes. What have I done? But then I said, no, I haven't done anything wrong. मैं क्यों डर रही हूँ? What should I fear? So I started talking. Like किसी का call आया. Okay, tell me, who were you talking to? What was the context? So they will tell me that this is what you were talking. Where was I talking? Was I on Facebook, Instagram, where? Or WhatsApp? They said, no, you were on a certain dating app. And I was so shocked. I had not even heard of names of those dating apps. So I realized that I am being cyber-bullied. And how? Alright, I started which dating app. So I will write down everything. Then another phone call will come, and then I realized that I need to work on it. I probably need to collect all the proofs that somebody is definitely messing up with me. What can I do? Because it's a very mysterious world of internet. You cannot know what is happening where. Either you are doing it in disguise of a friend, or my relative is doing, or somebody totally unknown sitting somewhere far away is doing. So it's totally a very arcane, mysterious world. But first definitely I was very scared. I wanted to hide myself. I just stopped going out. But then I said, no, if I'm not at fault, I have nothing to fear. So I started collecting all the proofs. I started actually attending those calls, and I said, can you do one thing? Can you send me a screenshot of the chat that was taking place? And then those guys, trust me, Kanika, it's so surprising to say कि those guys who were actually wanting to do something fishy or something, they started helping me. They said, yes ma'am, we realize the way you're talking or writing messages, it's absolutely different than what it appeared on those dating apps. It's not appearing that it's the same person who is doing it. So they actually took the screenshots, they sent me the chat, they forwarded me everything. And it was, it breaks my heart to say, my pictures were stolen, it was put on the dating apps, everything, even written that she's a photographer, all details, everything was given. And so much so even, I have 2 sons, mention of that too. It was really heartbreaking to, being bullied, and that too, you are so helpless, you don't know where to go and who to hit, So anyways, I started collecting all that data, and I thought my son, since he's into IT, so he also tried to crack, kahan se ho raha hai, but nothing was happening. So my husband said, there's no way, you need to go and file a complaint to the cyber cell. I could do it because I had tremendous support from the family. My family trusted me, they believed me. I was that fortunate woman. Unfortunately, not everyone is lucky like that. सबसे पहले thought आता है कि कहीं तुम गलत तो नहीं हो. Why is it happening with you? और वो एक घटिया सा dialogue है ना कि बिना आग के धुआं नहीं निकलता है. But trust me, it's all wrong. Things do happen without any rhyme or reason. Things do happen. So he said, no, there's no way you're going to sit quiet about it. You need to take a step. You need to do something about it. But I didn't want to go empty-handed, so I started doing my homework. I started collecting everything. I told my son to go and take a printout. I prepared a file, and then there was a very dear friend of ours, wing commander. He, along with my son, came because that time my husband was traveling, and I was at my wit's end. So my husband said, go ahead, don't delay, and just file a complaint. We went to the cyber cell. And I sat there and I told him, "Ki, this is what is happening with me, and this is the proof. These are the chat conversations. These are my profiles." And mind you, friends, it was not on 1 or 2 dating apps. It was on almost 9 to 10 dating apps. Have you heard of रक्त बीज? कि एक जगह खत्म होता है, दूसरी जगह हो जा रहा है. Like that person will give first he will chat and then will give my phone number. So obviously when those guys will call up, they will realize, or I'll obviously say no, that I'm not that person. So that person will be busted. तो क्या होगा? वो वाला तो प्रोफाइल बंद हो जाएगा. Then he will fame another somewhere else. So it was actually like a रक्त बीज. आज यहाँ खत्म तो कल दूसरी जगह बन गया. It was so heartbreaking. I was dealing with the trauma of losing my father, then my son being away, and then this thing. It was totally breaking me down. It was affecting my career. It was affecting my emotional well-being. And my husband always says, "You're the fulcrum of the family." And if the fulcrum of the family is not happy, how can I keep my surroundings happy? So I decided I had to take a call. I had to do something about it. Allow me to read out a share. मैंने बड़े प्यार से लिखा है, not mine, but it was, सिर्फ हंगामा खड़ा करना मेरा मकसद नहीं, सिर्फ हंगामा खड़ा करना मेरा मकसद नहीं, सारी कोशिशें हैं ये सूरत बदलनी चाहिए, मेरे सीने में नहीं तो तेरे सीने में सही, तो कहीं तो आग, लेकिन आग जलनी चाहिए. So I decided that I had to take a call, and I said, "This is the proof. Now you have to nab this culprit." And I just thought, who am I doing it for? I said, I'm at least doing it for. सबसे पहले मैं खुद के लिए कर रही हूँ. I owe it to myself before owing it to society or my family. मैं अपने लिए responsible हूँ. अपनी खुशी के लिए I have to take this stand. And in the meanwhile, I kept writing mails to the help centers of all these dating apps that this is what is happening. And this is not me, so you need to block this ID. Some of them obliged and immediately they took an action, but some of them wouldn't. I again wrote them a mail that if I take any drastic step, which I was honestly on the verge of, it was very heartbreaking initially. Later, of course, I became stronger. I said, you'll be responsible and I'll hold you accountable for that. So then they will definitely do something about it. And slowly, then months passed by. 3 महीने हो गए, nothing happened, and I remember I would just pack up everything, lock my house, go all the way, drive down to the cyber cell, sit बाहर उनके bench पर बैठ जाती थी सुबह जाकर, and I would ask them कि क्या हो, what has happened, आज कुछ हुआ, and their answer used to be, मैम ये तो बहुत सबके साथ होता है, you are not the only one, this is a very common thing. But then they are not realizing, if it is a common thing, what are you doing there? You need to do something about it. और जिसके साथ हो रहा होता है उसके लिए वो ये नहीं देखता है कि आप सबके साथ हो रहा है. It's my story, it's my pain that I'm going through. So I said, no, you have to do something about it. I kept sending them all the mails also and everything, whatever I could gather. Then in the month of December, finally, I launched a campaign in I think August, and December I get a call, that fortunate day, and he says, "Ma'am, you need to come to the police station. We have found a culprit." I was lucky that I know it doesn't happen most of the times, but I was lucky, or I think I'll give myself also credit here. I won't hesitate to do that.
Please give 100% credit.
That I did so much of homework. I spoke to those people, and it was not easy to, talk to them. And
I'll take a moment here on behalf of Shailja because number one, this is a very, very delicate topic, and there are a few things that are being discussed here. Women, I have said this enough number of times, are the upholder and the creators of society. And now the whole idea of whoever is violating a woman's dignity, उसका तो अपना है जो करना है, ठीक है. That's a separate thing. We have to get down into the roots of patriarchy, parenting, how we Indians work. Let's talk about only Indians because that's all we can talk about right now. But bringing attention back to Shailja and the person who's sitting here, and I don't know how many of you noticed in the creative that I had written, voice of a lioness. She did not come up with it. Usually my speakers suggest what their voice will be. It was I who decided that I want to write voice of a lioness, like a sherni. And what does that mean? So when, I mean, a person like her, because she's gentle and she is truly a humble and modest person. I've known her for 7-8 years now, and वो कभी change नहीं हुआ है. What I'm trying to say is, sherni. What does a sherni do? She bloody goes out and gets what she deserves. That's what she's done, and she is not scared कि दुनिया क्या कहे. Think about it. A year, she lost her father. What a vulnerable place to be. What a vulnerable place. Yes, there are ups and downs, but you lose your father, you in a way lost both your parents. Then this happens. I can't even start to imagine how that must feel. That आपके कपड़े निकल जाते हैं यार, and that's what she told me. I mean, can we relate with that? And then rising up and doing what is right, not just for herself, but for all of us. In a way, you did that because whoever was the culprit, Shailja, would have not stopped at you, would have continued. So thank you, because you have set the path, and which is why I said you are a lioness. Only lionesses do that, and you're gentle on top of that. So deep thanks to you, and that is why she's here today, because all of us do go through some sort of exploitation and violation in the society. All of us do have will in the future. Let's look at this example and remember that somebody who was at her lowest, and she said, right, she was at a vulnerable place. Can I say what you told me that day, 9th floor wala? She told me, Kanika, mera time aa gaya tha. I was stepping on the 9th floor and was about to jump. Like, what the hell is going on? Matlab, yahan galti kiski hai? So, can we all please wake up? That's number one. And number two, remember who we are, and that we are not defined by how many adult sites we are on. Nobody cares about that. You know, and also, by the way, also in the same vein, Shailja, I would also like to talk about women who choose to be on adult sites. They also have rights. Nobody has the right to violate their privacy also. It's my body, my mind, my choice, whatever I want to do. Nobody has a right to violate any of that. That's what the whole video is about. And on that note, Shailja, tell us about your lowest point of, you use the word shame. I can relate with it a little bit. What else did you, and what do you feel about it? Was it right, or is it because we are so conditioned कि वो shame ही आता है पहले, and पहले ये नहीं आता कि what the hell, who's done this? Like, a guy will not feel shame. I don't know, I may be wrong, but maybe a man will not feel shame. Why do women feel shame? What is your take on that?
First of all, I think mostly the target is always a woman, because society thinks that woman is the most vulnerable person to pry on, you know. आदमी को कम अटैक किया जाता है, उसके साथ साइबर बुलिंग अलग तरह की होती है, you know, financial something else. You will seldom hear that, you know, anything of the sort, because women are considered to be timid, and you know कि वो चुप रहेगी, society से डर जाएगी, or something like that. And the worst part is that, you know, pardon me saying this, but I need to take it out of my system.
Please do.
Sometimes it's amongst us only, you know, women start talking, gossiping. You know, they just hear something, they don't know the other side of the story, they don't know the other side of the coin. Without hearing my part of the story, whatever gossip they have heard, they'll just start putting two and two together. Further, they will discuss with somebody else, and it will become like a wildfire, and it will spread, and they wouldn't even know that this person sitting there is actually has done nothing.
Did you experience that?
I did. As a matter of fact, I did. And, you know, we all are living in a small society. It comes back to you, you know, you get to know.
And were any of those people that you knew?
Yeah, of course, I did.
Are you still in touch with them?
Yes, and I'll tell you, I got to know about it, and, you know, sometimes, and also I had like two set of people. One who were behind my back supporting me without even knowing, like they may be, some of you I may not have interacted, we must be interacting for the first time, but those ladies stood up for me. They said, no, this is all wrong, she's not a woman of that sort. And don't talk like this. And then there were another set of women who were like, kuch to hoga, that sort of a thing. And I know the feminists will say that, they will probably boo me for this. But sad part is, men won't do that perhaps. It's the women most of the time. They do this. एक औरत बहुत बड़ी सपोर्ट भी होती है दूसरी औरत की, बट बहुत बड़ी दुश्मन भी हो सकती है. That's very sad part of it. And I also had friends, who came up to me after, I'll tell you that part also, and they apologized that Shailja, we also believe that other part of the story, but now we know the truth, and they put it up on their social media. They wrote it down that we were wrong. I mean, it also takes a lot of courage to own your mistake, and say it in public. So my big thanks to those friends who have done it, and you know who I'm talking about. Can I complete that thing?
Please.
So when we went to the police station and we got to know that it was somebody known who had done it, some from the friend circle, somebody had done this. So my first question was, why? Why me? Have I ever wronged you? Have I ever misled you or humiliated you? कुछ तो कारण चाहिए कि आपने मेरे साथ ये किया. And he had, mind you, it was a man. He said, guy, rather a young person, said, no, nothing. आपके साथ मेरी कोई animosity कुछ भी नहीं है. I said, then why did you do it? Why did you choose me? So he says, just like that, I just started unintentionally, and then it started giving me a high, and I just got carried away, and I started doing, so it's some psychological issue that the person, and he didn't realize that his kicks were actually breaking me down, So it just pushed me to the wall, and जब you have pushed to the wall, तो एक ही alternative होता है. You have to face it, push back. Either break down or break through. I chose to break through, So when we were sitting there, so police, obviously the ball was in my court, and they said, ma'am, now you have three options. Either we can send him behind bars, or you can do a case of defamation, और आप personally जो आपको है, it's up to you. So I said, I'm not here for a revenge. Revenge मेरा purpose नहीं है. I don't want to, because he's a young boy. He has his whole life ahead of him. I don't want to do that, because if I send him to a jail or something, I don't think so he'll ever improve. When he'll come out, he'll be even with more venom inside. He'll probably do it with much more, he'll become more powerful, or, he'll have strength. Very few people will have remorse. I said, that's not my idea. Neither I want to do any defamation case. मुझे कोई पैसे नहीं बनाने हैं किसी से. I just want one thing. And it was, I think, very fair on my part, although half of my friends are not in sync with what I did. Till date, they agree with me. But my family said one thing. They said, whatever decision you take, we are with you, We'll support you wholeheartedly. I said, all right. So much so, 1 minute, even the cop sitting there, they said, ma'am, क्या करोगे? बदनामी होगी, I said, no, I'm not worried about that. बदनामी तो जो होना था, that boy has already done it, I'm not, because if I'm not wrong, Kanika, then I have nothing to fear, right? If I'm wrong, I'm ready to go and apologize, say sorry. I think I'm not, मुझ में इतना कोई ego अहम नहीं है. I'm a simple person, as I said. I can do that publicly. So I said, मेरा जो humiliation हुआ है, that has happened publicly, on all public platforms. I've been humiliated for no reason, for no rhyme or reason, for no fault of mine. So I deserve a public apology. I want this person to write down from A to Z everything that he has done, where all he has made my profiles, all the names of those dating apps, and whatever things he has done, posted my pictures, shared my contact. He has to confess that it was not done by her. She didn't know about it. It was all done by me. In my full consciousness, everything is done by me. And ये नहीं है कि वो कोई पागल इंसान है या under influence कर रहा है. So I said, you need to sit here and write down everything. And of course, it was not acceptable to few people. And then they said, this will ruin him. I said, what about me? मैं तो सिर्फ एक छोटी सी चीज़ मांग रही हूँ. आई एम जस्ट आस्किंग फॉर अ पब्लिक अपॉलॉजी. I'm not asking for something else. I can take a drastic action against you. I'm not doing that. Just do that. And that public apology should stay on your profile, open post, public, for 1 year. For everyone to see and learn a lesson that this can happen. And if it happens, women are not going to sit quiet. They are going to stand up, collect their pieces, rise up again and take an action. अगर नहीं करेंगे तो पता ही नहीं चलेगा. हम सब डर कर रह जाएंगे. तो यही सोचेंगे कि ये तो कभी पकड़े नहीं जाता है, कुछ नहीं होगा, कुछ सालों में लोग भूल जाते हैं. पर क्या आप भूल पाओगे? You cannot. You need a closure. You certainly need a closure. So he wrote a public apology. I sat there. I said, put it on your social media. I shared the same post on my social media, made it a public post. I said, 1 साल तक अगर ये निकली, then I'm going to file a case against you. That was all I needed. So, and I broke down and, I said that, then, people asked me, why this? ये तो बहुत सस्ते में, छोटे में छोड़ दिया, ये क्या किया? So I just said, कि जो मेरा मान है, मेरा मान एकदम पब्लिकली उतारा गया है, तो मुझे वो मेरा मान वापस चाहिए. पब्लिकली मुझे मेरा मान वापस चाहिए. So this is all I want. And that's where my husband said something so beautiful. It stayed in my heart. He just threw his arms around me and he said, मेरी वाइफ का मान कोई इतनी छोटी चीज़ नहीं है कि कोई टॉम डिक एंड हैरी आकर उसको उखाकर फेंक सके. But much more, right? Probably that gave me so much strength, and I said, this is all I want. And that's what I did. And I sort of, no, I'm not answerable to anyone. Whatever I do, this is my personal life. But, all said and done, we are living in this society, and you feel bad that you are being judged for no reason. So I wanted to convey a message, and I did that. And after that, of course, a lot of people came back to me, and during that time, Kanika, if I'll show you my messenger, it was full of messages from so many women who were sobbing in silence. So many women came forward, and even young boys. कैसी photos are being misused, even young girls and women of my age or your age or even younger or older. Then I realized that I'm not alone. It happens with so many people, and they were saying, हम डर गए हैं, कि क्या होगा, इतनी बदनामी हो जाएगी, what will the society say? I said, no, stand up. Take a stand for yourself. You just do not need to sit quiet. Mostly what happens, we underestimate the power of self. Yes. Most of us underestimate the power of self. हमें लगता है हमारा परिवार साथ नहीं है, फ्रेंड्स साथ नहीं है, रिलेटिव्स साथ नहीं है, सोसाइटी साथ नहीं है, हम क्या कर लेंगे अकेले? Absolutely wrong, my dear. The power of self is so strong. None of us has seen God, right? God has created us, सबने सुना है, but I think we created God because we believe there is some supreme power sitting somewhere. तो हम क्या करते हैं जब कोई दुख होता है, we just pray to that God कि ये प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर दो. बट वो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व एक्चुअली कौन करता है? द पावर इन दैट प्रेयर. हम खुद ही उठते हैं ना, हम खुद ही एक्शन लेते हैं. God also helps those who help themselves, right? So it is the power of self. Trust me, it is the most powerful tool that we all human beings are blessed with. हमारा माइंड काम कर रहा है, हार्ट काम कर रहा है, हैंड्स काम कर रहे हैं. Why can't we take an action for ourselves? हम अपने लिए क्यों नहीं खड़े हो सकते हैं? कोई नहीं है हमारे साथ. It's all right.
Yes.
खुद तो हो.
Yes.
तो don't. So I always feel that स्वयं के लिए तुम स्वयं समर्थ हो.
Yes.
You are yourself sufficient for
yourself.
तुम्हें और किसी चीज़ की ज़रूरत नहीं है. Support है, beautiful, very good. It gives you a lot of strength. नहीं है तब भी आप कम नहीं. No woman or man for that matter. It can happen with anyone. हम कम नहीं हैं किसी से, So believe in that power of strength. I feel that's something very important.
You're a trailblazer. You're a trailblazer, and I really wish that this episode, especially, is my request. Please share this episode because we have everybody. I won't even say daughters, nahi, sons, daughters, sisters, brothers, parents. Everybody, anybody is susceptible to this kind of violation, and at the same time, and I know Shailja will agree with me when I say this. The person who did this to her, unko bhi to release. Somebody needs to understand them as well. That's the whole point of this conversation. They are not guilty like that. We are all the same. It's just हम कहाँ से आ रहे हैं. We need to understand each other better. And I think our judgments are our biggest hindrances. And like she said, मैं हाथ जोड़ के औरतों को कह रही हूँ यार, एटलीस्ट जो यहाँ आती है, कैन वी टेक अ प्लेज टू एटलीस्ट द वंस दैट वी मेट हियर, उनके साथ तो खड़े हो जाए यार जिन जिन से मिलते हैं. हम क्यों एक दूसरे को खींचते रहते हैं नीचे? लेट्स नॉट डू दैट. लेट अ वुमन do that. In fact, that's my next question to you, Shailja, that I talk about myself. Let me not talk about anybody else. Social media has become a place of expression for all of us, and there is a lot of judgment that is thrown. ठीक है, पीछे स्क्रीन के बैठ के जजमेंट फेंकना है, फेंको. My point is, what is your answer to my following question, which is, if there is a woman, whatever age, whatever background, I won't even get into that, she wants to use social media as an expression to express herself, whether through her body, through her figure, through her face, through her makeup, through her art, through her dance, through her speech, her voice, her writing, anything. Does that give freedom to anybody to misuse her or whatever she's putting out? It's a question to you. I mean, do you think we or everybody, I'm talking on everybody's behalf, ये ना कपड़े ऐसे मत पहनो तुम सोशल मीडिया, ये ज़्यादा हो गया है. Who will decide that? And do you think that's an invitation again for कि तुमने ये किया तो ये हुआ? Is that an invitation? Are we free to express ourselves?
Sadly, we are a very judgmental society. We all are part of a very judgmental society. We take quick to judge anybody. किसी ने बिकनी का picture डाल दिया है, we start judging. Some lady is of a certain age, still she's wearing shorts or a mini skirt or something, we start judging. Those silly taglines, kudi kudi gal lagam, or even all these. Why all these taglines are for women? Why? Why can't she live her life if she's expressing herself in a certain manner, wearing whatever she wants, or writing through her art, as you said, or work? First of all, we are nobody to judge. It's her personal life. If you're not happy about it, don't see her feed.
Unfriend her.
As that.
Unfriend, block यार आपका, क्योंकि आपके moral principles इतने अगर adulterate हो रहे हैं, क्योंकि हम तो इतने pure हैं, तो आप unfriend करो ना उसको. आप देखोगे, judgment मारोगे, gossip करोगे, bitch करोगे. Why? Because somewhere you are jealous. कि why can't I do this? मेरे में क्यों नहीं है guts? So थोड़ा let's understand our own psychology also a little bit. That's why it happens. They're not unfriend. They will bitch and gossip.
I always feel that suppose if I'm wearing these glasses and I'm looking at you and I feel ये तो सब पता नहीं क्या धुंधली नजर आ रही है, and I won't realize that आप धुंधले नहीं हो, मेरी glasses में कमी है, उसके ऊपर मैल जमा है. So the people who are judging you from outside, actually the problem lies here, not in that person. Let her be. But again, this is what happens, and
I know, and it's not going to change.
A lot is changing, Kanika. Now women are also becoming fearless.
Yes.
And even credit to men also. They are very accepting. I think a lot has changed. Men, I'm sorry, I always have a bias towards men because I feel.
I do too.
Yeah, I think they are less judgmental.
Chilled out, more chilled out.
They are chilled out lot. They are less judgmental, and they don't even bother. उनको फैन
सीधा बोलेंगे, अरे यार क्या पहना है यार, क्या अच्छी लग रही है यार, whatever.
Yeah, on your face.
There's no double meaning.
अच्छा नहीं लग रहा. There is nothing reading between.
Yeah, there's no double meaning.
It's either black or white.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, there's a lot other than black or white. There are all shades of grey. That's very sad. Very very sad. हम अपनी ट्राइब को अगर नहीं सपोर्ट कर सकते हैं, this is very unfortunate.
I will actually let me also confess to something here. This is the platform for that. यहाँ पे I'm not going to say that I am this Murti who doesn't judge anybody. I judge all the time, anytime, because yeah, what happens, and it's the brain. We are wired as Homo sapiens to judge, so that we can obviously ना देखोगे ना कहाँ जा रहे हो या आँख बंद करके चलते रहोगे तो then तो you fall. So you need to judge where you're going, and that's where the trait comes in. Now, whenever you look at a woman or a man, obviously you first judge the person by, let's say, what they're wearing, how they're looking. Point is, stop right there. Don't open your mouth or take an action. Keep the damn conversation in your own minds. That at least we can start. Then what happens is slowly आपको लगता है बहुत energy जा रही है यार, इसमें जज ही करना छोड़ देते हैं यार. Really it happens. And confession here. I had a speaker here in this very cafe. Man, I just saw a post of her that she had put with a bikini on. I will not name. When I saw it, I was like, मेरा नंबर कब आएगा यार, मैं कब पहनूंगी यार. So let's get out of the nonsense places and let's start like खुला कि यार क्या लग रही है यार, तू so hot यार, where do you buy this bikini from? Even I want to buy it, and then like celebrate each other. Let's stop competing यार. We are creating life. So let's stop competing with each other and pulling each other down. I'm talking solely to women here, men not so much. है तो है, ऐसा ही है. Let's say it as it is. Anything else, Shailja, before you give in your final closing comments? Anything else you would like to share?
I think I just want to say one thing that I have learned out of my experience. I don't know, I support that, and I very vocally say it often, that kabhi bhi don't never stop in silence. Kuch injustice ho raha hai, to take a stand. You know, you just live once, you know, YOLO. So you just live once, so do not waste this life. Take a stand and make yourself happy. Unless you are happy, you cannot make your surroundings happy. And you owe it to yourself. You deserve the happiness, you know. So don't, अगर कोई judge कर रहा है, you cannot, because you can't control others' actions, but you can control your own reactions to those actions. So it's paramount to respect yourself first. And you know, जैसे मैंने कहा, that time even that self-doubt came in. Don't do that, the mistake that I did. If you are wrong, then of course, but if you are not wrong, then never have that self-doubt. Stand up like a fearless lion and take a stand. And trust me, people will follow you.
It's true.
You know, जब कोई देखता है weak इंसान है तो दबाते हैं. जब कोई strength से खड़ा होता है तो लोग जुड़ते हैं साथ में. I have noticed that. So इतना भी बुरा नहीं है society. There are people who actually stand. You know, and
there are people like you. There are people like you to thank, and Shailja, thank you so much, because आपने बोला तो आधे घंटे में अपना 1 साल बता दिया. But let's face it, yaar, man, it would have crushed you that time. It would have crushed you, and you rose. And like she's saying, self-doubt. I would just like to add a little bit to that. All these emotions of self-doubt or, you know, feeling judged, वो आएंगे यार, let them come. I think the only thing we can do is आने दो, feel them, and let them pass, and then take an action. Don't drown in them and let your identity become and your actions based on those. Is what she did. What a lioness does. A lioness fears the enemy, but still nevertheless goes ahead and attacks. That's what she has done, which is why she's our little sherni with the heart.
Thank you so much. Can I take a moment? Aaj subah when I got up, and I don't know how, it was probably something happened, and I just logged in, and I saw a beautiful poem popped up. Not written by me, and a beautiful poem. You know, can I take 1 minute to just read it out to you? I feel that it's so beautiful. Okay. न खुद को हताश कर, करेगा कोई मदद तेरी. न खुद को तू हताश कर, कि करेगा कोई मदद तेरी. न इसकी तू आस कर, तू खुद पर कर यकीन. न खुद को हताश कर. इस समय को तू न व्यर्थ कर, खुद को ना तू असमर्थ कर. न रुक कभी किसी मोड़ पर, न सोच के अति खुद को कमजोर कर. तू बढ़ अपनी मंजिल पर, किसी हार का डर छोड़कर. न डर इन राहों के पहाड़ से, बन मांझी तू इस प्रहार कर प्रहार तू। देखे रास्ता वह तेरे आगे झुकाएगा सर, देखे रास्ता वो तेरे आगे झुकाएगा सर, तू बस मांझी जैसा प्रयास कर। यह जो तेरे अपने तेरा मजाक बना रहे हैं, वह मिलेंगे तुझसे अपनी ही नजरें झुकाकर।
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.